Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pastor Kevin Little from the Danville First and Bowman Avenue United Methodist Churches. I took a trip to Israel for school in January, and this Holy Week I've started sharing some of the 900 pictures that I took. Today is Good Friday, and so we'll be looking at images from the Via Dolorosa, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and the Garden Tomb. The Via Dolorosa is the path that Jesus traveled as he carried the cross. It is marked by sites where things happened both in the Bible and in Christian tradition. One of the first stops on the Via Dolorosa is here, where Pilate washed his hands of the situation and gave an angry mob what they wanted. Matthew 27, verse 24 says, "So when Pilate saw that he could do nothing, but rather that a riot was beginning, he took some water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, 'I am innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves.'" Right across the street from here is the second site, where Jesus was flogged and given the cross to carry. Church tradition holds that Jesus fell 3 times while carrying the cross, and each of these is marked along the Via Dolorosa. This marker shows the first time that he fell. Right next to it, we have a marker that shows Jesus speaking to his mother Mary one last time before he's crucified. The Synoptic Gospels all point out that Jesus had help carrying the cross. Mark chapter 15 verse 21 reads, "They compelled a passerby who was coming in from the country to carry his cross. It was Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus." This marker here and shrine commemorate that event. This marker is a part of another church tradition where a woman stepped forward to dry Jesus' face. As she did so, the image of his face was imprinted into the cloth. This is known as Veronica's veil, and this marker shows where this is believed to have happened. Jesus' tragic journey finishes at what is now the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is a massive building that encompasses the sites of both the crucifixion and the resurrection. The Romans would build a temple to Venus over the site of Jesus' empty tomb in an effort to stop Christianity and to keep peace in the area. Emperor Constantine was the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity, and he had that temple torn down, exposing this holy site. It became a shrine and eventually grew to become the Church of the Holy Sepulchre that stands today. Inside the church is the stone hill known as Golgotha. Like many other things in Israel, it has become a shrine where thousands of people come to visit and pray each day. It's hard to see in the pictures, but in person you can see how the stone was carved to allow a cross to just drop in and stand straight up. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And with him they crucified 2 bandits, one on his right and one on his left. When it was noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of the bystanders heard it, they said, "Listen, he is calling for Elijah." And someone ran, filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a stick, and gave it to him to drink, saying, "Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to take him down." Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last, and the curtain of the temple was torn in 2 from top to bottom. Now when the centurion who stood facing him saw that in this way he breathed his last, he said, "Truly, this man was God's Son." Mark chapter 15, verses 25 through 39. Underneath Golgotha is a section of exposed rock, where blood from all of the people crucified at this site eventually stained the stone red. This is between Golgotha and the tomb, and it is the stone where Jesus' body was placed to wrap it for burial. Behind it, you can see a mural depicting the crucifixion, preparation, and burial. When evening had come, and since it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, who was also himself waiting expectantly for the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. When Pilate wondered if he were already dead, and summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he had been dead for some time. Then he learned from the centurion that he was dead. He granted the body to Joseph. Then Joseph bought a linen cloth, and taking down the body, wrapped it in the linen cloth, and laid it in a tomb that had been hewn out of the rock. He then rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. Mark chapter 15, verses 42 through 46. This is the aedicule, which is the building that covers the empty tomb. The line to enter it wraps completely around and loops within this chamber. They don't allow pictures past the entryway, which is short enough that most people have to duck to enter. Then on the inside is the empty tomb itself, which is also a shrine, with a marble slab marking Jesus' burial location. They allow 4 to 5 people in at a time, and everyone has to almost crawl to enter. This is what Jesus' tomb would look like if it had been left alone. This is actually the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, who gave his tomb so that Jesus could be buried in it. This sits about 75 feet behind the empty tomb. What we're seeing now is the garden tomb. This is an alternative site that some believe could be the location of the empty tomb. It definitely looks more like what we've come to expect, which makes me suspicious, but it is definitely a more relaxing place to visit than the overwhelmingly crowded Holy Sepulchre. This is an example of the stone that would have been rolled away from the entrance to the tomb. On a personal note, I really disliked the shrines that cover everything, especially Golgotha, but I know that others do like it. But for me, I'd rather have everything preserved so that it could be seen in its original condition. Ultimately, though, none of that matters. What matters is that God took it upon himself to be born as one of us, to walk among us, and ultimately to allow us to kill him in a horrible way. All of this was done for our benefit, not his. And that is what I'm taking comfort from today. The knowledge that God was looking out for us then, and we didn't really understand how, and he's still doing the same today. Have a great rest of your day, and keep a hopeful eye towards Sunday morning.